It's February, and this month we are going to do a deep dive on our finances because it's something that takes a real back seat when you have little kids. But as we know, kids are expensive, so it's still a good idea to keep on top of them. Over the last few years, I've found a way to make it quite easy to keep on top of our finances, and it only takes me 20 minutes once a month to sort all the money out and move it all around. So, if you've been in my world for a little while now, then you will know that I like to put everything I can into a routine or a habit. There is too much going on in my day with the kids needing everything from me for me to be having to use my brain to think about everything else as well. And I'd rather use my brain to focus on the kids instead of all the household tasks. But just like the household tasks, keeping on track with our finances is essential, even if it is less important than taking good care of our kids. We can't ignore our finances because the numbers do not care how busy you are, the figures have got to add up. So, we probably all know the importance of having a budget. It's age old advice and nothing revelatory, but having a spreadsheet that you can access on your phone with the money you have coming in versus the money you have regularly going out, such as mortgage or rent, bills, childcare fees, etc., is essential. Remember also to put a buffer on this amount because sometimes there are anomalies. So, I'd recommend having an extra £100 or £200 a month if you have it to make life that little bit less stressful. But having a budget isn't everything, I'm afraid, and there are two more things that you can do to make managing your finances way easier each month. So let's take a look at those next. First up is an emergency fund. This is a decent pot of money that you keep separately, which is only for things such as when the boiler breaks down, or you need emergency plumbing, or something else that stretches you beyond your normal financial capability. Ideally, this should be around £1,000, but if you are reasonably able to have more, then that's great. It might take a while to build up a pot of £1,000. I know it certainly did for us, but it brings you financial security and stability, and it takes the worry out of life's little financial emergencies that just can't be understated. And finally, the thing that has created the biggest difference in how well we can manage our finances as a family is sync funds. These are small pots of money that you add a set amount to each month and then only use on those specific things. And this is usually for some of the more ad hoc things in life. For example, Christmas month. We talked about having a sync fund for Christmas in November's spotlight topic, but essentially saving a small amount each month for Christmas and birthday presents is such a winner. So I wrote down all of the people that we would buy presents for throughout the year for Christmas and birthdays, set a budget for each person, then added the total up, divided by 12, because that's how many months there are, and then I add this much money each month to that pot. So whenever I need to buy a Christmas or a birthday present, I check the budget I have for that person and buy it using the money from the Christmas and birthday sync fund. The money is already there, so it isn't affecting the money leaving our main account, and this just makes it feel so much less stressful. And ultimately, you can have sync funds for whatever makes sense within your life, whatever feels a little bit of an ad hoc payment and outside of your monthly bills. Just try and group similar things together so that you don't have lots of sync funds. For example, you would have one pot for all of your insurances, not lots of different ones for home insurance, car insurance, etc. So, how do you know how much money to add to these pots each month? Well, calculating this is pretty simple, fortunately. I went through it a bit in the previous slide. First, you need to add up how much everything in that category cost you within the last year. Next, I always find it's a good idea to add around 10% to that figure, which accounts for any inflation and price hikes and things like that. Then finally, divide that number by 12 to get your total monthly amount. And if you set a direct debit up for this amount to go into your sync fund the day after you get paid, then you don't even need to remember to do it. And it's all just totally automated. So there is this initial setup phase for sync funds and a little bit of work to do to get started. But hopefully you can see that this pays off quite quickly and makes life a lot easier. So these are the sync funds that make sense for our family. Christmas and birthdays, as I mentioned before. Holidays, where we put a set amount of money in each month, and this goes towards a family holiday, or if a family holiday isn't on the cards that year financially, then we put the money towards doing other things with the kids, such as going to the wildlife park or other days out like that instead. Our insurances and car services sync fund is probably our heaviest. This sync fund accounts for our vehicle, home, life, and pet insurances, as well as our car tax, MOT, and services, money for new car tyres, and any extra for car repairs that we might need. So it's quite a hefty one. I think we put around £275 a month in it at the moment, and we probably need to up it a little bit. but the pot builds up quickly until we reach the month of May, which is the month that I think half of our insurances and MOTs and things like that are due. And then we deplete it pretty quickly. But imagine how stressful May would be for us without that sync fund. I can't even imagine how we would pay for it all without using a loan or a credit card. Other sync funds that we have are a home reno pot, which is just for the little things the house needs, such as paint, new door handles, new scatter cushions, whatever we might be after for the house to improve it on a small scale. We also have a pot for the kids for the things that they need, which we don't personally include childcare costs into ours, but you could if you wanted, and one for dates, so that we have a little bit of money each month to spend on some actual time together. So, having these sync funds means that we can pay for things like vehicle insurance in full. This can often be cheaper than paying monthly, but even if it isn't, it still means that we have less outgoings each month, so that when we're looking at our bank account throughout the month, we have a better idea of how much money we have left, rather than there still be seven things that are yet to be paid for from your account, which makes it hard to know what you're working with money wise. So naturally, it's going to take a few months to build these pots up before they might be usable, but I promise you this is worth it. If you need to, start by building one pot up at a time. If this can be the biggest pot, so for us that is the insurances pot, then that would be the one that gives you the most impact straight away. But if you can't afford to start there, then start by building up one of the smaller pots first. Then when you are financially feeling the benefit from that, you will have the money to start building up the next one and so forth. Ultimately, once you are fully set up with these, then you'll be in a lovely, stable financial state. I'm not saying you'll be wealthy or have any money left over each month if you don't already, but your finances will at least be stress free and within your ability to manage it, and see if you need to change anything or increase the amount that you're putting into the pot each month. So, finally, let's look at where we can keep the money for these pots. Obviously, having a few different pots to keep money in could get confusing, and it isn't ideal to have many, many bank accounts. It also probably isn't safe to keep different envelopes of cash lying around the house, although that is, of course, an option if you wish. We use a bank account from Starling because they are one bank account with virtual pots to split the money up into, but still all under the same one bank account. Other accounts offer this too. Monzo is another one, and there are many others. So obviously, feel free to have a look around. I'm not endorsing Starling in particular. It's just the one that we use, and it works really well for us. And that's it for February. I hope this helps to take some stress out of your finances. I appreciate that there is some setup work to be done on this one, but the benefits are honestly absolutely massive. Finances are such a source of stress amongst couples, especially within a family, and this method really does take that stress away. Next month, we'll be looking at keeping on top of the paperwork in our house, from bills to school forms to kids' artwork. We'll look at how to tackle that beast with six heads and how to make it quick and simple. Thank you so much for being here. And if we aren't already friends on Instagram, then you can find me over there at the Lazy Mum Club. So let's connect. Thanks, and I'll be back next month.